Like, I just wanted to be around women that were trying to heal themselves and that were actively on the journey, because it was a space that I felt like I needed. So it started as a Facebook group. We would have just outings. I think we started with like a bonfire release. So it started with just events and like workshops. Then when I went back to school and I started learning about attachment awareness, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to focus on specifically. If you learn that you don't need love or you are not going to receive love, you learn that that's something that's not expected as you grow up, and you start to become avoidant in other areas. So this can bleed into your leadership. This can bleed into your relationships, the way that you parent, because you learn not to need it. Like, we need to kind of talk about this, especially in the Black community where a lot of our parenting was built on survival.
My working professionals, creators, entrepreneurs, I need y'all to tap in. Listen, if you're tired of fighting distractions at home or bouncing around from coffee shop to coffee shop, then Bamboo has exactly what you need to be able to lock in and get your work done. In addition to having flexible meeting rooms and event space, they've got a community that actually supports you while you're in the building. So if you're ready to lock in some space right now, guess what? I got you. If you head over to bamboocowork.com right now and use the promo code BlackFriday20, you'll get 20% off any of your rental bookings. Don't waste any more time. Head over to bamboocowork.com and take care of that. Use that promo code. I'll be seeing you at a Bamboo location sometime soon. Now, let's go ahead and get back into the episode. What up, though, Black Fridays family? Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Before we get into today's episode, need you to hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment, send some videos to family, friends, and loved ones so that we keep this thing going. All right, now that we got that business out of the way, I got somebody in the building who is dedicated to making sure that our Black women are healed and overcoming their trauma. Miss Jasmine Pitts, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for putting up to the platform. And so would love to be able to dive into Heal Black Women, which is your nonprofit that you have created, but is some terminology that you use in order to describe some of the work that you are involved in. And so I want to see if I get some definitions around those to be able to add more context to the story.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So talk to us about what emotional intelligence is.
So it's really the understanding of not just yourself, but also the understanding of other people around you. Kind of like the read the room type style, but also that self-awareness of when you're feeling certain emotions, how to navigate those emotions as well. Yeah.
Got you. Mm-hmm. And then also attachment theory. What does attachment theory mean?
Yes. So this is my heart, pride, and joy. It changed my life. So attachment theory is pretty much about how you learned emotional safety as a child. So there is a whole thing that happened called the strange situation. It was an experiment that two psychologists went through, John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, and they actually watched children as they were growing up and watched their parents, different ways that they reacted to the child. So you had a mom that may be avoiding the child or not giving to the child's needs when they cry, and that created a sense of, okay, well, I'm learning not to need you. And these are certain patterns that start to just develop over time. They don't go away. So if you learn that you don't need love or you are not going to receive love, you learn that that's something that's not expected as you grow up, and you start to become avoidant in other areas. So this can bleed into your leadership. This can bleed into your relationships, the way that you parent, because you learn not to need it. So there were, I think it's 4 different attachment styles that they discovered, and it all put people into certain categories of overperformance, of shutting down, of secure attachment, which is where we all want to be, where we can have that emotional intelligence and can rely on people and feel trust and safety. But my whole mission is to bring awareness to these things because most times you don't really learn about it unless you go to therapy. So just trying to bridge the gap between therapy and the community.
And you call yourself the attachment healer. So when did that journey begin for you? And first understanding the concept and then also being able to incorporate that into your life then in turn be able to support others.
It happened in undergrad. So I went back to school. I kind of got tired of my own mess. I went through a divorce. Just a lot of self-sabotage, starting and stopping things, and a lot of anger that I held from my mom. I didn't know I was going to discover this going to school for psychology. I probably should have known. But we had a personality course, and I was so excited about it because I love taking personality quizzes. So we had an attachment style quiz that we had to do a discussion on, and then a reflection on our results after we took the test. And the test just went over so many different things. It was very triggering because it's like, how did you feel with your mom? How did you feel with your dad? Like your relationships. And when I went through the test and saw my results, it was like looking at my life on a screen, which is like everything just clicked and it made sense of like, oh, this is why I shut down. This is why I receive love and push people away. And like everything just clicked for me. And as I started to dig deeper, I'm like, we need to kind of talk about this, especially in the Black community where a lot of our parenting was built on survival. So we don't really get that emotional aspect all the time. And when I went back and started teaching my mom these things and started helping her through her relationship with her mom and seeing it work, it's like, oh my God, like this is actually something that can be healed and something that could be walked through. So I think one of the biggest things that I love is that it's learned experience and it's also clinical experience. So it's not like a lot of times in psychology, it's just observing other people's behavior. But this is actually something that I've been through, something that I've healed through, that I've walked through and seen the change.
Very dope. And I got more questions for you, but before we get into those, I want to introduce you to my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Fridays.
Oh, God.
So,
Okay.
Feel free to start rapping whenever you're ready.
Okay.
You can sing, dance, poetry, however you want to express your creativity.
Oh, I'm about to freestyle. I'm a writer. I can't go off the dome.
Okay.
But I'm far away from home.
Okay.
I roam over to Black Fridays to talk about getting things my way, the way I see it. People need to be healed. So I gotta get in the field. I don't know. That's all I got.
Shout out to you for giving us some bars, at least
my
a
God.
few.
That was so cringy.
But you did it.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I would like to ask you just a few rapid fire questions since you actually gave us a verse here.
Okay.
All right. So we're talking about trauma, healing, attachment theory, emotional intelligence, all the things. But what is a way that you prefer to be able to kind of relax and like detach?
One of the things I love to do is music. So I used to sing. Well, I still sing, but I guess I used to sing and record my singing.
Okay.
I used to do albums and things like that. So I love, love, love writing. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Issa Rae and Insecure.
Absolutely.
I am the person that goes around the house and raps in the mirror or raps while they're doing the dishes and does little things and little quirky, just little things that I like to do. So that's kind of like my style of unwinding. Also in the gym, like, thank God. It took a long time to get to the point of trusting myself enough to keep consistent. So that's something that I love to do and just kind of get all of the angst out, all of the just unlocking. And then lately it's been walks, like just going outside and walking. I just moved to a new neighborhood and it's peaceful and just getting out there and walking around and like listening to Drake. So he's giving me a lot of albums to listen to on the walks. So that's been kind of my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any hobbies that you indulge in? Because as an adult, I find it hard for me to find new hobbies or things I get interested in. So, wondering what other adults do for their hobbies.
So one of the things, like I love nature. So I don't get out as often as I would like, but I love kayaking and I love horseback riding. Those are like top tier for me. I would not recommend going on Belle and doing kayaking. I tried and the trail was a little treacherous. But those are some of the things that anything that can kind of just steal my mind, and just where I can kind of connect outside of the phone and emails and all those things. So yeah.
Okay. And I know that you're an author. Do you have any books that you are reading right now or that you recommend to folks?
One of my favorite books that somebody actually gifted to me, and it was kind of divine timing, is Key Person of Influence, by Daniel Priestley. That book was fire. It kind of just talks to you about um, your positioning. It talks about your products and how to really like put yourself out there and your purpose. And it changed my life and my perspective. So I always recommend that book.
Dope.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for partaking in Freestyle Fridays. You
Hmm.
did a great job. And then we even got the bars on top of that. So,
I don't know if I'll call them bars, but okay.
so in your nonprofit work
Mhm.
with Heal Black Women, tell us, how did that part come about? Because you talked to us about your journey and then
Mhm.
even being able to go backwards and talk to your mom about her relationship with your grandmother, and now being able to do that and provide resources to other women in similar situations. How did that come about?
So it actually started in 2021. It was just a Facebook group. Like I just wanted to be around women that were trying to heal themselves and that were actively on the journey. Because it was a space that I felt like I needed. So it started as a Facebook group. We would have this outings. I think we started with like a bonfire release where we kind of went and just wrote down things we wanted to release. It was healing, and people were talking about how much they needed the community. And I'm like, okay, like let's kind of keep this going. So it started with just events and like workshops. Then when I went back to school and I started learning about attachment awareness, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to focus on specifically. I actually started doing research on it where I wanted to, and I'm still trying to decide if I want to do the whole doctor dissertation. All of that is very strenuous.
Mhm.
However, I started building the framework as I was preparing for those things. And once I saw, like, okay, this is something solid, I was talking to my mentors and they're like, this is grounded theory. Like, this is something that we can push forward. And I'm like, okay, this is what I want to build on. This is what I want to focus on. I built my curriculum around it. So we walk through like awareness first, where they actually learn about attachment, what it is, how it's developed, and then we go into safety, and then we start to talk about regulating your triggers because once you learn your awareness and all this, there's still triggers that's going to come up. So how do we regulate those when they show up? And then how do we integrate this into our lives where this is no longer theory but practice? So it was definitely something I felt like was needed. And the response was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like seeing people actually heal things that they didn't even know. Like I always knew something was there, but I didn't know what the core issue was. And I'm very big on solving core issues instead of just putting band-aids. So yeah.
And through your time in doing this type of work and building that community, how often have you seen that? Is it something where everybody deals with this type of attachment awareness, or I'm blanking on terminology,
Mhm.
but is it a situation where you see that everybody is dealing with this, or is it just being able to be unlocked in certain people, or what have those learnings been like for you so far?
So that has been amazing. So it started with women. I also had piloted a youth program. But one of the things about attachment awareness is it starts from childhood. So everybody was a child at some point.
Yeah.
Everybody experienced different forms of relationship with their parents, their caregivers. Everybody came out differently, where it's like, okay, well, I learned I had to perform for love. So that made me anxious. So now I have anxious attachment where I'm overperforming at the job because it's tied to my self-worth. This is how I receive safety. Or this is I shut down in meetings because I'm used to, shutting down during confrontation. So it's something that comes out in everyone because everyone started from somewhere along that scale. One of the cool things I was able to see, I do a leadership program as well. So I went through a 12-week process with a leadership team, and it was male and female professionals. And it was the first time I've kind of worked with males, and it was like, oh no, like this is for everybody. So it was just, it's universal. It's definitely raw and emotional, but the more that you pull out and the more that you go with it and start to recognize these patterns, it's like a whole light just opens up.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see.
And how do you initiate that work? Does it start with the assessment similar to what you did and then you
Hmm.
kind of dig deeper, or How do you initiate that type of work?
Yep. So it always starts with the assessment. That's under our awareness, where we talk about what it actually is. I discuss the theory, go into like the details. Then they take the attachment style quiz, and once they figure out, okay, this is where I kind of land, then we start to dive into, okay, what does that mean, and then how can I become safe within myself? Because a lot of times we look outward for safety, but it's like it starts internally. So one of the big things that I'm always preaching about is just like internal safety. Like, how do we build that? How do we keep that? Even when situations arise, how do I always find my center? And then we go from there. We start, okay, let's see where those triggers lying. And now that I know, oh, I'm getting triggered because I have anxious attachment, and these are the things that trigger me, I can see it. So now I need to learn how to put a pause between that in a way that I'm not exploding on other people. So it's a process, which is why I kind of switched to cohort style, because when I was doing workshop, it's like you get pieces here, you get pieces there, but it's a journey. And I wanted to make sure that I finished the journey out. Yeah.
And then do you have, in terms of that journey, because I'm under the understanding that,
Mhm.
or the philosophy that you're never truly like fully healed. Like
Yeah.
that's a lifelong journey, a
Mhm.
continuous thing that you have to do. So in terms of the programming that you provide, is there a like finite amount of time, or it's just kind of like a I'm with you for life or as long as you need
So it's
situation?
a finite amount of time, but that is something that I'm actively working through, because I want to be able to kind of be there afterwards. Like if you need to have a touch point or touch back, so it is becoming more intensive, where it's like, okay, I want you to leave with your plan. So every woman leaves with a plan of, this is my attachment, these are my triggers, these are things I'm working on, this is my guide of like my regulation toolkit that I can go through. Like we even have done um, bags that actually represent like pause. So when I'm feeling triggered, I can reach in my bag, I can do something that kind of pauses my brain, and then I can move forward, because that's the biggest thing, is the pause. It's not like you said, just being healed and you never have to deal with it again, but
Hmm.
how do I deal with it? How do I stop myself before I spill into the same pattern? So that's been something that's been beneficial. I've seen it a lot. I've had a lot of people come back like, "Hey, I need some more," or "I need this." So it's definitely a journey, and I try to make sure that I'm there without betraying myself either, because sometimes like it's a lot of compassion that goes into that, and just making sure that people feel like they can move forward.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And it's one of the recommendations as part of the toolkits to be able to seek therapy if you're not currently in
Mhm.
therapy, or how do you work or coincide with people leveraging therapy?
Yeah, so I always speak highly of therapy. I do encourage people to get an attachment aware therapist. So there are people that specialize in attachment awareness. And therapy, like, it's not one size fits all. I often talk about the fact, because you come with people that have stories of, well, I went to therapy and it didn't work. But it's like, if you go to a hairstylist and they did you wrong, are you going to stop getting your hair done, or are you going to try somebody else?
Right.
So
Right.
just kind of actually going through and seeing who fits you. Like, who do I feel like I can relate to and be safe with? So I'm always advocating for that. At some of the events that we've had therapists on site that we can refer to. So that is something that I always advocate for.
Hmm.
Mm.
And in your journey and being able to talk to your mom about some of the traumas and things that you dealt with and your relationship, was therapy something that helped you navigate that?
No, unfortunately. So
Okay.
I did try therapy though.
Hmm.
I did try different therapists. One of the things that is difficult when you're going to school for therapy is finding a therapist because you're so analytical about little things where it's like, I don't know. So that's my personal battle. But I have been to therapy multiple times. But I'm, like I said, a writer. So anytime I'm going through stuff, like before I even discovered attachment, I went back and started tracing roots of things. COVID made us kind of sit with ourselves. And a lot of times that can be uncomfortable for people that don't do that. It was extremely uncomfortable for me because I'm sitting with my trauma and all my thoughts. So I decided to just start digging, like, okay, what's coming up? Like, what's the root of this? What is the trigger? And just writing it down. Like, I have a notebook just filled with my observations of myself. And then once I started learning theory, I was able to piece things together. But it's definitely been a journey. Me and my mother have it's been a lot.
Hmm.
um, but I can proudly say that that is one of my best friends now. It was a point where we were blocked on Facebook. And I talk about that openly because it's a testament of just the work that's been done. And one of the things about learning attachment is it takes off that layer of anger from misunderstanding. A lot of times we demonize our parents that they got it wrong, they weren't there. But when you realize they didn't have the tools, they don't know any of this stuff. They're just doing what they were learned or taught, and then also they were just surviving and trying to make sure you survived. It's like, okay, how can I see this from a different lens that removes that anger? Even if it's not reconciliation, it's removing anger from you so you can move on.
And I'm assuming your mom is Gen X
I always forget what's
or that
the
era, like the
hmm?
late 60s, 70s, somewhere around
70s.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
probably Gen X. How, what was the, I'm assuming you're millennial.
Yes.
So how was the dynamics of being able to come to that conversation or initiate that conversation? Because like the running joke that I see on social media is like you go to a Gen X parent as a millennial and try to tell them like, what you did when I was a kid was messed up. And then they just start boo-hooing like, well, forgive me for being
Mm,
forgive me for trying to raise you the best way I could. And it's just kind of more like deflection essentially and not really trying to um, dig deep into the discussion because they grew
mm,
up in a different era, a different time where the emotional stuff that wasn't always
yeah.
readily available or the most popular or cool thing to do. So wondering how was that dynamic when that conversation got initiated?
It was rough initially, 'cause it was some of that. It was more so, y'all always wanna throw around that trauma word,
Hmm.
and it's just like, but it is trauma. So, it's like, but I learned as I grew to change my approach. It's something that I speak on all the time. It's like, once you start learning things, you wanna quickly go in and like, "This is what you did wrong." It's like, nobody responds to that.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm being chastised, I'm not gonna respond in a way that's like, "Oh, I understand." So one of the things that helped was not talking to my mom about what she did wrong, but asking her questions.
Mm.
I started asking her questions and little stuff about her childhood, about her room growing up, and it started giving me more of the scene where I'm like, okay, I can understand how this became what it was. And one of the things that I wrote about in the book was just like, there was a key moment where I saw myself in my mom. Um, and she talks about how she used to love when her mother greased her scalp as a child. And when people are talking the story and they kind of look off and they're like fondly remembering something, but then you see their face change. And she's like, that was one of the only times that she was physically like affectionate, like when she actually touched me. And it was like, wow, because my mom wasn't very affectionate with me growing up. And that was something like I used to pretend to be sick longer because that was like the only time that she was really affectionate. But I saw myself in her in that moment. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is not a woman that is trying to hurt me. This is a woman that learned a pattern and learned not to need these certain things and then passed on to me that, hey, I don't need these things, so I don't know how to give it to you. And then you pass that on and it just keeps going. So it really changed my viewpoint of her. It humanized the situation. Instead of making me feel like, she did this to me, it was
Hmm.
more so a collective understanding. And it started the conversation to where we could talk about those things and those patterns and just have more open and honest communication.
Hmm. So I know that you're a mother. You
Mhm.
have two daughters, correct?
Yes.
So in terms, I'm curious because I think about like my growing up, my grandma, my mom, they would get into it about random stuff. But it
Mhm.
was like it's funny because obviously we're mother and daughter, but they certain situations they'd be like bickering like they siblings. And then when
Mhm.
I look at as being an adult and looking back on it, I'm like, dang, they actually was a lot alike. And I think that because
Mhm.
of that, that's why they probably like butted heads because it's almost like arguing with a younger version or another version of yourself. And
Mhm.
so I'm wondering, in you having daughters yourself, and then also the dynamics and conversation you have with your mom, do you feel like that plays a factor, especially like when it comes to women? We could more specifically Black women and
Mhm.
their daughters. Do you feel like that sometimes like you'll see a clash because it's almost like the same person talking to the same person or
Yeah.
same personalities.
Yes. So a lot of time my dad says I act like my mom. But it's usually either one or two extremes where it's like, okay, I act just like my mom and that's why we clash, or I'm trying to be so much not like my mom that's why we clash. So I definitely see that. My daughters are two sides of me. So my youngest is the very emotional and just empathetic side, and then my oldest is the very like analytical and like she's quick to say something when something's not right. She speaks her
Mhm.
mind. Very, very, very outgoing and just open and honest. So it's definitely I've definitely seen myself in them. And sometimes I just have to laugh because I'm like, "Oh, you acted just like I was acting at work today." So it is a reflection. It is a reflection. And there's a lot of times I used to be really hard on myself when it's like I know all this stuff about attachment and I'm teaching these women like I gotta make sure my kids are right. And it's like the biggest thing that I've learned and that has helped me in my parenting is to teach humanity over perfection. So there are times where, I don't get it right, or there are times where I may get frustrated and I may raise my voice, and it's like being human enough to say, you know what, I'm sorry, or I apologize, or I could have handled that differently. And I feel like that has changed the dynamic in my relationship with my daughters. I'm not a perfect mom, but I know that they feel safe coming to me. There's been times where, I went out of town for a conference and they've been with my mom and dad, and then I come back and my daughter gives me all of her emotions throughout the week. She cries just about everything that happened at school. And I'm like, hey, did Jaden tell you about what happened at school? You're like, no, she was good. But it's because she felt safe enough to like, whoo, I can exhale here. So I feel like that is a true staple of just parenting from a human lens and from an awareness lens as well.
Speaking of parenting and children, I'm wondering if you could break down like your definition of, because everybody talks about healing my inner child or my inner
Mhm.
child wants this and et cetera, et cetera. Could you like break down what is your definition of a inner child, quote unquote?
Yeah, so the inner child is just your inner pattern. It's the things that you learn to do to survive your environment. So for me, I was disorganized attachment, which is kind of like a push and pull. It's like I want the love, but I don't trust it because it's not consistent, so I pull away. I saw that a lot in my relationships where it's like, okay, I'm feeling like this, but now that I feel like this, I don't trust it, so I'm gonna pull away to keep myself safe. So your inner child is just that behavior that you learn, that pattern that keeps you quote unquote safe. But it's actually working against you sometimes. But this is just, your guard. This is the mask that you wear into the world. So healing that is through awareness. Like I'm aware that this child is there. And then asking yourself, is this my inner child being activated, or is this actually really happening? And that's something that I talk about a lot in the cohort, is just like the difference between your attachment being activated, where it's like I'm being triggered and I'm making up this story to match my trigger, versus no, this person actually is unsafe, or this person actually is doing something that I need to speak up about and set a boundary. Because there's a difference, and I had to learn that
Mm.
the difference between attachment awareness and your nervous system actually telling you data.
And you seem like a pretty self-aware person in terms of
Mhm.
being able to, like you said, you're even documenting certain things from your past, your childhood, and then being able to kind of trace back certain
Mhm.
things that would trigger you and trauma points, things like that. But I'm sure if you've come across that, that's not a common thing for a lot
Mhm.
of people in terms of being self-aware, or even thinking that something is wrong.
Yeah.
How can people how can they become or work on becoming more self-aware to really like do that inner work to understand, okay, what might be going on here, or to take those pauses and be like, you know what, this really messing with me. Let me figure out why.
Well, you can come to my program. But also, that awareness piece, like it just starts with observing like the lay of the land. Like I'm very analytical. I might be overly analytical, but I'm very like, okay, I'm feeling like this. Let me see what is actually behind here. Like, okay, this happened. Um, for instance, and I always tell this story in leadership. Um, I had I was new to the job, and we had a training where they needed, to put our pictures up, and talk about who we were and all these things. So they pulled my picture up on the screen, and it's a picture that I took that was my headshot that I did not like. And I told somebody I didn't like it. I didn't tell this person that put this presentation together I didn't like it. But I was immediately activated. I'm like, oh, they're trying to embarrass me. Like, why would they put this picture up? They're sabotaging me. But that's my trigger saying that this isn't safe. That doesn't mean that that was the intention. So instead of reacting, I removed myself from the situation for a second, which I always talk about different ways that you can pause. For me, it was to step out for a second, to breathe, to ask myself, is this person intentionally trying to hurt me? And when I realized that's not the case, do I still feel the same way? Yes, I do. So if it's something I still feel, what needs to be communicated? It's like, okay, I need to communicate to this person. I kind of don't like that headshot. Could you not use that? And that's it. Sometimes it's simply just that pause of actually scanning. And that's the awareness piece. It's not perfection. It's not, okay, I have to jump through these hoops. It's just taking a pause to really see, is this something to even really be mad about, or is this something that needs to be communicated? Because most of the times it's the inner child is something that needs to be communicated. I need to feel seen. I need to feel heard. I need to feel safe. So what's being communicated and how can I communicate that?
I'm glad you brought that up in terms of the workplace because I've had situations in the past where like I'm Black guy from Schoolcraft from the west side of Detroit, and it's just like it'd be a lot of things that go on in corporate America or in those settings that people are used to or slide. Where I'm like, where I'm from and how I was raised,
Yeah.
you would have had to see me. So
Yeah.
it was I never forget a situation at work, and then a guy I was working on a project with him. He used to be my supervisor, manager, whatever you want to call it, but then he wasn't anymore, and then he just was. The tone and the way whatever he said came out sounded very condescending. And then so like I think maybe I got some guidance on to like, let it sit for a minute. Don't, be too quick to react, but ended up having to set up a meeting with him. Like, look, brother, like this, that's not how we gonna do things. And then it like that got super tense, but he understood like, bro, that's not how I'm rolling. I don't plan on disrespecting you. Don't disrespect me. And so forth. But I just think that made me think about how often those situations probably happen for people that look like us, where it's like, what you say, who you talking to? And even in your case, it was just a picture that you didn't want it to be used. And then immediately it took you to a place like, y'all got me messed up.
Yeah.
And so like, how do we deal and navigate with those things where, you could be in therapy, you could likely be going good for you, but then like something like that happened and it's like, it's up now.
Yeah, that's why like it was so cool to see the leadership team because there's different dynamics and everybody's version of safety is different. Everybody has a different attachment style. So I could be shutting down because I'm fearful in this situation or I don't trust the situation or whatever the case may be. But now you're the anxious person over here is like, oh, they're shutting down. I have to lean in. They're leaving me. And that fear of abandonment kicks in. And now it's two people competing based on their attachment style. So learning that in leadership, it helps with learning how to communicate because it's not just, okay, I know myself. It's like, I know my team. So I know who is doing what. I know the landscape and I know how we can work together more cohesively, which was great to see. It was really cool to actually see it in real time and to have the feedback of like, wow, like we're understanding. I even had two people in the same department that were like, man, we just realized that conversation we had 2 years ago wasn't even what we thought it was. Like, and it was that thing. Like, this person was anxious and this person was avoidant. And I thought because she was avoiding the situation or didn't want to help, like she was betraying me. But really, that's just her attachment style, and that's how she keeps herself safe. So they were able to hash it out. Excuse me. They were able to hash it out and actually see, like, oh, wow, this person didn't mean me ill intent. Which was dope. It's like y'all going back and healing 2-year-old conversations. So it's definitely something that's necessary and something that I've been trying to push as like the standard practice. Like you can't have successful teams and teams that are leading communities and not be self-aware or not be aware of your dynamics and not be working through some of these things because it trickles out into your work.
And then as far as your work goes, it's actually expanding. So you have an app that you're working on in order to further what it is that you've been doing. So could you tell us a little bit more about that as you enter into the tech space?
Yes, it's exciting. It's exciting to see it come to pass. It started as just "Oh, we should probably do this. This would be cool," to, like, actually going to Black Tech Saturdays and finding my developer and now being at the point where we're about to drop it. So the app is called Healing Out Loud, because my whole thing is making emotional literacy, something that is normal, something that is not silence, because a lot of us are carrying things in silence, and that's just how we learn to survive. But it starts with an attachment style quiz. We've changed added some questions to make it more culturally relevant. And then it goes into voice note record or recording where you're actually, I don't know if people like to write as much as I do. So I'm like, okay, we can record your voice notes. You can start to see some of the things that are working throughout the week. And then you have AI integration that kind of goes off of your reflections. It says, based on your different voice notes throughout the week, I'm seeing these type of trends. And from there, we have micro lessons that go into the different attachment styles where you can learn more about the attachment styles, the patterns, how to heal from them, triggers, all those type of things. There's healing receipts, which I think is so dope because we need incentives. Like we
Mm-hmm.
need things that show that you're doing the work. So you get a healing receipt when you do a voice note. And the goal is to have the healing receipts to actually lead to tangible incentives where it's like we're partnering with different community.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say you get 10% off at a yoga or
Okay.
different candle spots and things like that. So I'm really excited about it just because I know that people need the language. And like I said, oftentimes they don't get it unless you do go to therapy. So just trying to make it more broad and make people have a better understanding of themselves.
And then why go the app route?
Because it can multiply the message. I am only one person and I am doing so much. So I'm always just trying to do it all. And I'm like, how can I put what I'm doing in the pockets of everybody? Where if you can't come to the cohort, because I've had people that's like, oh, we need to have something here. And I'm like, well, I'm in Detroit. I'm not in Atlanta. So it's like, how can I spread the awareness to the masses instead of just locally?
Very dope. And you had mentioned you went to Black Tech Saturdays to be able to work with a developer in order to get that done. How was that community been able to support with that?
It's been dope. So I actually met a girl, Bree, who was doing, I forget her platform, but it's like animation. And she's the one that told me that, oh, you need to talk to, once I was telling her about my ideas, she's like, you need to talk to Dr. Marshall. So I met with Dr. Durrell Marshall
Mm-hmm.
and just the sitting down with somebody and them actually believing in you and really hey, okay, let's put this to actual paper. Let's actually put this out. And just it got me excited. It's like, wow, this could actually be something for real. So I'm definitely not into I don't know all the tech jargon. He was able to kind of coach me through. I know what an MVP is now. So he really just assisted me. Him and his team at Total Analysis just walked me through the process in a way that I could understand. The turnaround has been fast and amazing. The
Mm-hmm.
edits, everything. So it was just wow, this is not just a space that you come to for a workshop. This is a space where you're actually connecting with people and meeting your developer and making things tangible,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And shout out to the BTS community. And beyond that, you have an annual event that you have going on. And then for this year to be happening next month. So could you tell us more about that activation?
Yes. So outside of my freestyle that sucked, I do love music for real. I'm a big music head. So this idea kind of merges both. So I'm very big on healthy forms of dopamine. So we always talk about, people cope in different ways. Indulge in drinking, overindulge, or whatever you do to kind of escape. I wanted to create something that is a healthy escape where it's okay, this is something that is feeding me instead of depleting me. So Rhythmic Reflections is an annual festival. It started last year where I wanted to combine live artists that had a message behind their music. They do a song and then we do an interview portion where they kind of tell the story behind their song and how it relates to their healing journey. And then everything else is meant to be felt. So we have yoga, we have a black harpist, which is so dope. She comes and opens up the show. We have a live painting that people can contribute to throughout the night. Massages, Black wellness vendors. Even last year we did where you come in and you have different colors, which we'll be doing again this year, where if you feel introverted, you pick the red. If you pick, green, it's like, okay, I'm open to conversation. Yellow, I might just be filling out the space. So I want everybody to feel comfortable. Like a lot of times we go to events and it can be overstimulating.
Right.
And it's like, okay, if I know where people at, then I know how to approach you. So I just wanted everybody to feel seen, everybody to experience creativity as a form of healing and expression.
Mm-hmm. And then what's the information for that? So where is it going to be? When is it? And how can people access it?
Yes. So it's going to be July 18th at Say Detroit Play Center. And it is from 4 to 8. So you said, how can they access it? You
Yep.
can go to Eventbrite, Rhythmic Reflections Unmuted is what it's called, because we need to unmute ourselves. So it could be, the tickets are there. Also through my Instagram, the Attachment Healer, I've been posting about it all the time. So you can find it that way as well.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I had mentioned your book earlier that you had wrote. Could you tell us about that and how that has been able to also be in an extension of your work?
Yes. So that actually came from the book I talked about, the key person of influence. So one of the things that they talk about is how your book is like your business card. A lot of times we walk around with our business cards, but it's like the book is an invitation into the work. So once I heard that, I'm like, okay, let me start thinking about what I want to say. What is my voice and what is my experience? And what is my framework? So it's called Healing Your Hidden Child from Guarded to Grounded. And it is literally what we walked through in the cohort, just like that awareness piece, like my first time that I became aware and kind of the backstory of where this all started, my family dynamics, and just things and lessons that I've learned over time, as well as some areas for reflection. So that has been a journey. That was exciting to actually finish it. I had our artist that comes and does the collective painting. It's actually the person that designed the book cover. So Daniel Gang, shout out to you. And I just wanted it to feel very much so me, but also very no fluff. Like I don't like when you go to a book and you got to get to all the way in the middle to try to find the gem. So I'm like, how would I want to read something? I'm like, I want to get to the point and I want people to know the real steps. So that's the book. It's on Amazon. I'm currently working on my next book, which is Self-Trust versus Self-Betrayal, which has been my whole other season of life journey. And the different ways that I learned that I was betraying myself out of loyalty, out of long-lasting relationships that you feel like, well, no, this is supposed to be like this. It's like, no, like, am I actually feeling safe in this environment? Work environments, different things, the ways that we betray ourselves. So I'm really excited to put that one out as well.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit more about that second part of what you said in terms of being able to the self-betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
How can you, because when I think about that, I think about boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And like you had mentioned, like long-standing relationships that might not necessarily serve you anymore and things like that. Why should people be more intentional about creating those personal boundaries?
Because a lot of us are just like, we're living on default settings. We're living on old patterns and friendships, and not all friendships are supposed to last. Not all relationships are supposed to last. And we ignore our nervous system. Our nervous system is like the biggest litmus test of how we're actually feeling. It's the data. If I come in here and I'm always feeling like my body is tight, I'm tense, I'm feeling like hot, like why am I feeling like this? But we ignore that. Like we just keep pushing, like, oh well, it's fine. And it's betraying yourself. Like you're betraying what your body is feeling for proximity. And we do that often. So I feel like it's important for us to even know what that is, how to recognize it so that we don't keep ignoring it. Because that's what leads to those triggers and those explosions, and everybody's like, what happened? But you have all this stuff building underneath where it's like, I've been feeling like this for a long time, but I've been ignoring it. So how do I start to pay attention to that first and actually say no the first time without, damaging yourself in the long run or other people.
Mhm. And how do you know sometimes when it comes to situations where you may be like your body or your mind is reacting in a certain way in certain situations or circumstances where it's like like the older generation be like, y'all just soft, y'all being soft, or it actually is like something that might be trauma related. Like how can you make that differentiation where like you could, because sometimes it might be a cop out to be like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm triggered or whatever, when you're like, no, you're not, you just like whatever, it's something else. But
Mhm.
how do you kind of sort through that?
It takes time. It takes a lot of time, and it takes time in between, like you said, the triggers and the response. Because you have to get an honest assessment of yourself. Because sometimes you could just be popping off.
Mm,
But it's like when I put that gap in between, I'm able to kind of calm that initial reaction, those initial flare up emotions, and I'm able to see clearly. So sometimes that's as simple as like not sending an email right
mm,
away or not having a conversation. And sometimes we push conversation or people will push you and it's like, oh, no, I want to take my time so I can give a response from a level head. So that time piece and that pause is one of the biggest game changers in the healing journey because that is where you find your center. And if you're not doing that, you're living in reaction.
mm. And so tell us, what's next for you? So we talked about the events that's coming up. You got the app going on, but what's next for you? What's next for healed Black women? What do you see in your crystal ball that you could tell us about?
I see rest, one. I'm definitely working on living a balanced life, and saying no to certain things and like guarding my time a little better. As a creative, it's like we want to do all the things, and it's like I'm creating just on the spot. Like, oh my gosh, like this, and you keep adding, but then you're trapping yourself in your creation.
Mm,
So I'm learning to slow down. So I said I've been taking more walks and just ease, and not living in that. Like, there's a balance between hustle and flow. Not to like shout out the movie or whatever, but there is a balance in that. Like you have to learn that it's not all hustle. Sometimes it's flow, and I don't have to push so hard for things. Like timing is right. And just being consistent. So that's what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on putting nothing else out. I feel like all the things that I'm doing just need consistency, and they need time.
mm.
So that's what I'm focused on.
That's dope. That's a word right there for sure. So how can everybody get in touch with you? How can they tap in with you if they want to follow the journey? They want to be able to partake in some events or any services that you have going on. How can they reach you?
Yeah. So my Instagram is the attachment healer. So that's one way. That's where I put most of all my stuff. LinkedIn is Jasmine Pitts. I also have the Healed Black Woman website. So it's hbwoman.org. So that's a way that you can learn about the events in the cohort. And then you come to the festival as well. I'll be making some special announcements, some special activations. So yeah, just tap in.
For sure. For sure. Well, appreciate you for stopping by the podcast today
Mhm.
and being able to break down some of these concepts, theories to learn more about how people are able to heal their inner child, overcome some of their traumas, and do so in a healthy and impactful way. So appreciate the work that you're doing to be able to support people who are in those spaces and understand those lanes. And appreciate you for being here once again.
Thank you. And that I'm gonna just say that self-trust, that's what made me rap for real. Cause I normally the old me would have been like, "No, it's fine." But it's like, you learn to be
Why not?
free in
Yeah.
yourself. So do the work.
Do
It's
the work.
important. Yes.
Do the work.
Yes.
Everybody listening and watching, it's been another episode of Black Fridays Podcast. We're going to tap in with y'all soon. Peace.